The mass production of industrial magnets begins with the extraction and preparation of the raw materials. Not all magnets are made with the same composition. Ferrite magnets, widely used in small motors, speakers, household appliances, and low-cost systems, are produced from iron oxide combined with barium or strontium. Rare earth magnets, such as neodymium iron-boron magnets, require much more specific and valuable elements because they offer a significantly higher magnetic force in a much smaller size. This difference explains why a small neodymium magnet can lift several times its own weight, while a common ceramic magnet needs more volume to achieve the same effect. The process begins in mines where minerals containing these elements in varying concentrations are extracted. In the case of rare earths, extraction requires careful selection of the material because the useful elements do not occur in isolation but mixed with rock, clay, other metals, and sometimes traces of radioactive materials such as thorium or uranium. Therefore, mining operations are not only focused on volume but also on control. Geologists identify the richest veins through drilling, sample analysis, and terrain studies. The ore is then extracted using heavy machinery, controlled explosives, or mechanical excavation, depending on the rock's hardness and the depth of the deposit. Once extracted, the ore arrives at stockpiles and crushing plants. There, it is broken into smaller fragments to facilitate processing. First, it passes through jaw crushers or primary mills, which reduce large blocks of rock to manageable sizes. Next, the material enters more precise grinding systems. In the case of minerals destined for high-performance magnets, grinding can be carried out in ball mills or jet mills. The goal is to reduce the ore to extremely fine particles, often just a few microns in size. This stage is essential because the more uniform the powder size, the more controlled the material's behavior will be in subsequent stages. Inside the furnace, the temperature rises until the metals melt and blend into a homogeneous mass. Heating is maintained for the time necessary for the neodymium, iron, and boron to become evenly distributed. Induction heating allows the metal to be heated using electromagnetic fields without direct contact with a flame. This improves the cleanliness of the process and allows for highly precise temperature control. In high-performance industrial magnets, the uniformity of the alloy is as important as the purity of the starting material. Once melted, the alloy is rapidly cooled. In many modern processes, the liquid metal falls into a cooled, rotating drum where it solidifies into very thin sheets or flakes. This rapid cooling helps to form a controlled microstructure. The goal is not simply to solidify the metal. It is to ensure that the internal crystals have the correct size and distribution to achieve a strong magnetic response. These flakes are then crushed and ground again, but this time they are no longer ore. They are a magnetic alloy prepared for orientation. The alloy is milled in inert atmospheres. Neodymium iron boron powder is reactive, sensitive to oxidation, and can lose quality if exposed to air. Therefore, it is handled in sealed chambers, nitrogen or argon systems, and equipment designed to minimize contact with moisture. The goal is to obtain microscopic particles with a uniform distribution. Each particle will function as a small crystalline unit that must be oriented during pressing. Here we see one of the most characteristic stages in magnet manufacturing, magnetic orientation before the magnet is magnetized. Although it may seem contradictory, the material is not yet an active magnet, but its particles can align themselves in a preferred direction. To achieve this, the powder is placed inside steel molds while an intense magnetic field is applied. Millions of microscopic particles rotate and align themselves in the same direction, like tiny compasses pointing toward a common axis. This internal alignment is what allows the final magnet to achieve a much greater strength. While the field orients the particles, the mold applies pressure. Compaction transforms the powder into a solid piece called a green compact. This piece already has the general shape of the magnet, but it is still fragile, porous, and lacks its final strength. Its structure is held together only by the applied pressure. If handled incorrectly, it can break easily. That is why automated systems move the compacts with precision, avoiding impacts, vibrations, or sudden changes. Something similar occurs in ferrite magnets, although with different materials and temperatures. The mixture of iron oxide with barium or strontium is pressed into molds, sometimes also under a magnetic field, depending on whether anisotropic or isotropic magnets are desired. Anisotropic magnets have a preferred magnetic direction and are more powerful. Isotropic magnets are easier to manufacture and magnetize in different directions, but offer lower performance. In both cases, the pressing process defines the basic geometry: discs, blocks, rings, curved segments, or special parts for motors. After pressing comes sintering. This stage transforms the compacted powder into a dense, durable material. The parts are placed in sealed furnaces where the temperature is raised in a controlled manner. For neodymium magnets, sintering is carried out in a vacuum or an inert atmosphere. The heat allows the particles to bond together without melting completely. Their surfaces soften, diffuse, and form strong bonds. At the same time, internal pores are reduced, and the density increases to approach that of a solid metal. Sintering can last several hours. The temperature, time, and cooling rate determine the final microstructure. If the temperature is insufficient, the particles do not bond well, and the magnet remains weak or porous. If it is excessive, the grains grow too large and the material loses performance. The factory monitors this stage with sensors, programmed thermal curves, and recording systems that verify each batch. In mass production, precisely replicating the same thermal curve is as important as achieving the correct temperature. After sintering, many parts undergo further heat treatment. This process stabilizes the crystalline structure and improves properties such as coercivity. The material is then reheated to lower temperatures and subsequently cooled in a controlled manner. The block appears almost unchanged, but internally the grain boundaries, metallic phases, and crystalline orientation are adjusted to better resist demagnetization. It is a silent but crucial stage. Upon exiting the furnace, the sintered blocks already possess an internal structure prepared to become powerful. Magnets, however, they are still not magnetized. Furthermore, they are hard and brittle. They do not behave like ordinary steel. They are more like a metallic ceramic. They withstand compression but can shatter if struck. Therefore, the next step is not to activate them immediately, but rather to machine them, protect them, and bring them to their precise dimensions. The power is already latent within the material, but it still needs to be given its final shape and awakened by a magnetic pulse. After sintering, the magnetic blocks move to the machining area. At this stage, the factory transforms compact pieces into components with precise dimensions. Some magnets are cut into small rectangles for sensors. Others are formed into arcs for electric motors, rings for generators, discs for speakers, or special blocks for industrial machinery. The shape depends on the final application, and every tolerance matters. In a high-efficiency electric motor, even a minimal difference in size or curvature can disrupt the rotor's balance, increase vibrations, or reduce performance. Machining sintered magnets requires special tools. These materials are extremely hard and brittle, so they cannot be worked like soft metals. Diamond saws, grinding wheels, precision grinders, wire EDM, or laser systems are used, depending on the type of part. During cutting and grinding, the temperature is monitored to prevent thermal damage. The generated dust is also captured because it can be reactive or hazardous if released into the environment. The production line combines speed with precision. Thousands of parts move along conveyor belts, robotic arms, and automated measuring stations. Once the magnet reaches its final shape, it needs protection. Neodymium iron-boron magnets are very susceptible to corrosion. If exposed to moisture, oxygen, or harsh environments, they can oxidize, crack, and lose strength. That's why they receive protective coatings. The most common are nickel, zinc, epoxy resins, phosphates, or multi-layer combinations. The coating not only improves the appearance but also acts as a barrier that extends the magnet's lifespan and prevents the internal material from degrading. The coating process depends on the end use. For general applications, electrolytic nickel plating can be used. The parts are cleaned, chemically activated, and immersed in baths where an electric current deposits a uniform metallic layer onto the surface. For humid environments or applications requiring electrical insulation, epoxy can be applied. In other cases, coatings more resistant to temperature or salt spray are used. Each layer must cover corners, edges, and cavities without leaving any pores. A microscopic defect can become a point of corrosion. After coating, the parts are inspected visually and dimensionally. The layer thickness is measured, adhesion is checked, and parts with cracks, chips, or squarences are discarded. However, even at this point, the magnet is not yet active. It may have the correct composition, oriented structure, exact shape, and perfect coating, but it still does not attract with full force. Magnetization is lacking. Magnetization is the moment when the material receives an extremely intense field for a very brief interval. Each piece is placed inside a coil or between the poles of a pulse magnetizer. The equipment discharges a high-voltage electrical current in milliseconds, generating a magnetic field much stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. This pulse forces the internal magnetic domains to align permanently in the direction established during pressing. At that moment, the block ceases to be a passive object and becomes a permanent magnet. The pulse intensity is calculated based on the material, size, geometry, and required orientation. If the field is too weak, some domains will not align completely and the magnet will lose performance. If it is excessive or improperly applied, it can generate internal stresses, overheating, or incorrect polarities. For complex parts, such as motor segments or multipolar magnets, the magnetizer must produce precise patterns. It's not always a matter of creating a north pole at one end and a south pole at the other. Some magnets require several alternating zones of polarity to function within sensors, stepper motors, or control systems. After magnetization, parts become difficult to handle. Their attractive force can cause them to collide with each other, chip, or snag metal tools. This is why production lines use non-magnetic separators, plastic trays, robotic systems, and safety devices. A large industrial magnet can exert enough force to cause injury if handled without protection. In high-volume factories, internal logistics are designed to prevent magnets from accidentally coming into contact with each other or interfering with nearby electronic equipment. The final stage is quality control. Each magnet undergoes measurements of surface field strength, polar orientation, attractive force, dimensions, thermal resistance, and coating condition. Hall sensors, gaussimeters, tensile testing equipment, inspection cameras, and automated systems are used to compare each piece to specified values. In critical applications, thermal aging, humidity exposure, temperature cycling, and salt spray tests are also performed. The goal is to ensure that the magnet is not only strong when it leaves the factory, but also maintains its performance over years of actual use. Grinding cannot be done haphazardly. If the temperature rises too high, the material can oxidize, become contaminated, or suffer structural alterations. Therefore, the heat inside the chambers is controlled, protected atmospheres are used, and the particles are separated by size using sieves or air classifiers. Powder that does not meet the required particle size is returned to the system. Powder that meets the specification proceeds to chemical and physical separation. The next phase involves one of the most important processes: mineral concentration. Not just any mixture will do to manufacture magnets. The factory needs to isolate the useful elements and remove sand, rock, clay, unwanted oxides, and waste. Common technique is flotation. In this process, the ground mineral is mixed with water and chemical reagents inside sealed tanks. When air is injected, certain particles adhere to the bubbles and rise to the surface as froth, while the heavier impurities sink. This froth contains a higher concentration of the desired elements. This process seems simple, but for rare earth magnets, it requires extreme precision. Useful concentrations can be low, and even a small amount of contamination can affect the entire batch. Therefore, acidity, reagent quantities, stirring speed, residence time, and temperature are all carefully adjusted. The plant also employs filters, dust extraction systems, and chemical controls to prevent the release of hazardous gases or particles. Each batch is tested before proceeding to the next stage. After concentration, the material is dried and undergoes further purification processes. In ferrite magnets, iron oxide is mixed with barium carbonate or strontium carbonate in defined proportions. In neodymium magnets, the preparation is more delicate because a precise combination of neodymium, iron, and boron is required, sometimes with small additions of dysprosium, praseodymium, or other elements that improve temperature resistance or coercivity. Coercivity is the magnet's ability to resist demagnetization. In electric motors, turbines, and industrial equipment, this property is critical because the magnet operates near intense fields, vibrations, and heat. Each component is weighed using high-precision equipment. A minimal error in the proportions can change the final strength, thermal stability, or the ease with which the magnet loses its magnetism. In a mass production line, the materials are loaded into sealed mixers to prevent moisture and oxygen from entering. This protection is especially important in neodymium alloys because neodymium reacts readily with air and can oxidize. If it oxidizes prematurely, the material loses performance and develops internal defects. Once the raw materials are purified and dosed, the metallurgical transformation begins. In neodymium ion boron magnets, the components are placed in induction furnaces. Before melting, the chamber is evacuated to remove oxygen and moisture. It is then filled with an inert gas, usually argon, to prevent oxidation. This protected atmosphere is vital because the alloy must maintain an extremely clean composition. If oxygen enters during melting, oxides form that weaken the material and reduce the final magnetic strength. Parts that don't meet specifications are separated. Some can be demagnetized and reprocessed. Others are discarded or recycled to recover valuable materials. In mass production, Statistical process control allows deviations to be detected before they affect thousands of units. If a batch shows a drop in strength, a polarity variation, or a coating problem, engineers review the milling, pressing, sintering, or magnetization processes to find the cause. Traceability makes it possible to know which powder batch each group of magnets came from, in which furnace it was sintered, and under what parameters it was magnetized. Once the magnets pass final inspection, they are prepared for packaging. This stage requires more care than it might seem. The magnets cannot be placed side by side without separation, as they can stick together tightly and be damaged. Plastic spacers, non-magnetic sheets, reinforced boxes, and configurations that reduce the external field during transport are used. They are also labeled according to polarity, magnetic grade, maximum operating temperature, and intended industrial use. In some cases, the packaging must comply with special regulations for air or sea freight because magnetic fields can interfere with sensitive instruments. From there, the magnets travel to factories that produce electric motors, wind turbines, industrial robots, medical equipment, loudspeakers, sensors, hard drives, pumps, actuators, and automation systems. In an electric vehicle, neodymium magnets can be part of the motor's rotor, where they enable highly efficient torque generation. In a wind turbine, they help convert the movement of the blades into electricity. In an industrial robot, they enable precise and repeatable movements. In an MRI, other highly specialized magnetic systems make it possible to obtain internal images of the human body. In everyday devices, small magnets convert electrical signals into sounds, detect position, close mechanisms, or stabilize movements.